So when you say there are tools, what
Yep,
I'm learning from this conversation is there are tools, but you have to get your strategy right, right? So
absolutely.
I think that's really a very important point that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So can you give me an example of how do you get a strategy that was right, and therefore it became a digital factory, and therefore what kind of outcomes and returns have some companies seen, and therefore can you give me a real life example of how to define that? Because when I look at a manufacturing plant, at least what I have seen is that, oh, you know what, my productivity should increase, okay, my efficiency should get better, my
Right.
asset life cycle should be better, okay.
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
I've heard these kinds of things, okay, but
Right.
when I'm actually looking at a digital factory, are there some larger business goals which are very different from the traditional analog factory to a digital factory? How do you assess what kind of business goals can I set for myself?
Well, I wouldn't say they are too different. At the end of the day, any business, their end goal is to make money, right? You see a scene, slogans, we want to save people's lives, we want to do good, do no evil. All those things are slogans at the end of the day. But bottom line is you are there to make return on investment for your investors. So how you go about doing is what differentiates the companies. Digital factories. There's a hard way to do and there's an easy way to do. And the analog factories, they do it in the hard way. You can inspect every bolt and nut that you manufacture. And even in China, the low labor costs, it's becoming prohibitively costly to do that kind of a work. And that's where the Six Sigma, the million parts per, PPD, reducing a defect comes into play. They want to make sure you produce it without inspection. You can either inspect quality or you can produce quality.
Hmm.
And so that's a mindset you need. Goes back to the lean mindset. That's where it comes from. All these things comes from. So to me, that's thinking in a digital factory. Madonna, for example, decided they're going to be completely cloud first manufacturing, and they hardly have any servers or anything in their factory. So that's they can do that because it's all greenfield. Uh, they were building a factory, so that's how they built the factory.
So
So
how do I become a cloud first factory?
on a greenfield site, it's much easier because you're starting from a empty canvas, white sheet, so you can design it the way you want to do, and you connect everything, you make sure you have good internet connection and everything, your network is up to speed. So you design everything to that effect.
Okay.
I'm running everything in AWS. That's what Madonna does. But
Okay.
90% of the companies, they're not greenfield plants. They're what we call the brownfield sites. They have existing assets. They're high-performing assets right now. You're not going to abandon it. There's no business case to rip and replace.
Hmm.
You still have to bring them to the digital factory side of it, and that's the biggest challenge. That's why some of the some of the challenges really is to go about and say, okay, I'm going to be a digital factory. So how do you go about doing it? So that's where in the roadmap I was talking about comes into play. If it is a greenfield, yeah, you start from scratch. That's the easiest way to do it. Brownfield, you obviously want to do it gradually. And so each site may be, in the same company may be different. They may be assembling cars. One site may be 40-year-old site, another site may be 15-year-old site. So they may be in a different maturity level. So that's why you do have to individualize and you have to adjust your strategy. That's where the strategy becomes more of a, when I say strategy, you think it will be set in stone. It never is. It is a dynamic strategy and it is going to change site to site. And so you definitely need a corporate strategy to say, this is how I'm going to implement it. This is how I'm going to pay for it. And at the corporate level, you may say, I do see a value doing everything on this side because that's already um, performing at 90% level, and I'm trying to get to the remaining 10%. And that probably is the hardest because you have got all the low-hanging fruits with the 90% performance, and then the remaining 10% performance is the hardest one to get. So you may want more data, and that site may provide you more data because it's already high-performing sites. So
Okay.
that's one way of approaching it. The other way of approaching it is a low-performing site may have a lot of low-hanging fruits that may be easy to solve also. So
Mhm.
that's where the strategy comes in, and you have to make up your mind based on case by case and say, this is what my approach is going to be. If I did $1 million on a low-performing site, I may bring up the performance 20-30%, or I may have to spend $10 million to improve the performance of a site that's already performing 90% level. I may improve only 1 or 2%. So that's where use the data to help form your strategy.
Okay. You'll observe in this conversation, Sridhar spent the last couple of minutes talking about strategy. So here is an engineer trained in math science talking business strategy. So as an engineer, as you move up an organization, the value you provide to an organization is understanding the business strategy, the business realities, and ensuring that the technology and the platforms and your engineering skills come to the fore. This balance is very, very important. Life is not just going to be about just solving some engineering problems. As you move up, your ability to look at the big picture, look at what the industry needs. So that becomes more and more important. Therefore, what is critical, and therefore what is important for you is to look at saying, okay, what's the business problem I'm trying to solve? How many different kinds of business problems are there? Which of my engineering skills and engineering problem solving skills can I use to solve this business problem? What are the high maturity problems that require top engineering skills? What are the low maturity problems that require low level engineering skills? But what's not going to go away is your ability to mix your business strategy, understanding of the business problem with your engineering skills. That is going to remain forever.